Gita Sugita Kartavya Himanyai Shastra Vistarai Ya Swayam Padmanabhasya Mukha Padmadvini Sritah. One of the shlokas that is chanted in the glory of or prayer of Bhagavad Gita says that where is the need to read any other scripture if you have read Bhagavad Gita? Because this has been spoken directly by the Lord Himself. All other scriptures either have been received by the rishis in their contemplation, in their communion with the divine, like the Vedas and Upanishads. Then there are other scriptures like these smritis, we call it, which have been written from the memory of the people or the rishis who have seen a story happen or some incident happen. So they are smritis. And then there are Puranas are there, which are stories which are mostly mythology. And then there are various other granthas are there, Prakarana granthas are there, which do explain these smritis and shrutis. Technically, Bhagavad Gita is a part of Mahabharata and Itihasa. It is history. And it has been written by whom? Veda Vyasa. So is it a Shruti or a Smriti? It is Smriti only, because Veda Vyasa saw the whole Mahabharata happen and later he dictated it to Lord Ganapati as his scribe, stenographer. So Veda Vyasa and Lord Ganapati had a pact. Veda Vyasa said, I am going to recite or I am going to speak out this entire Mahabharata, of which Bhagavad Gita is a part of Bhishma Parva. And you have to write. You have to be my scribe. And Ganapati said that I am okay to be your scribe, but Ganesha put a condition first. He said that you should not stop even for a moment. You should continuously tell this Mahabharata and I will keep writing continuously. No breaks. No washroom breaks. No tea breaks, coffee breaks, nothing. You have to continuously tell it and I will continuously write it. And then Vedavyasa thought this Ganesha is extremely intelligent, and he may quickly write it and then I may run out of words and then he will give up this job. Then who is going to write such a big epic other than Ganesha? So Vedavyasa also put in condition. He told to Ganesha, you must not write unless you have understood whatever I speak. And only after understanding my shloka, whatever I am chanting, that is when you should write it down. So this was the condition that they had put to each other. So whenever Vedavyasa would need a break, what will he do is he'll chant some complicated shlokas so that Ganesha will take some time to understand what Vedavyasa is saying. And after that, he will write it. Meanwhile, Vedavyasa will take his little break and then come back and continue the dictation. So this is a very wonderfully, it's a story. And even if today, if you go to up there when we go to these Himalayas, to Badrinath, even further up from Badrinath if you go, there is a Vyasa Gufa and Ganesha Gufa. These are the caves in which Ganesha and Vyasa sat and wrote this whole Mahabharata. And they are not next to each other. It's not that they were sitting in the same cave. Vyasa was chanting somewhere in his mind and Ganesha was receiving in his mind and writing it down. Because they are quite far from each other. But today also you can go and visit those caves. So this chapter, the most confidential knowledge, is one such chapter where I think Vedavyasa thought I better give some complicated shlokas to Ganesha so that I get some break. Teachers do that. Whenever they want a break, they give an assignment to the class. Finish this and meanwhile they'll go drink some water, coffee, tea. Coffee, tea is not provided generally here. So whatever, water or take a little break, throat is paining, so they'll take some rest. So this is a typical methodology and I think Vedavyasa used that. So this complicated chapter is confidential knowledge, also complicated knowledge in a way, yet it is very simple, Krishna says. Though it is supposedly the most secretive knowledge, nobody knows it. If everybody knows, then where is secret there? He says this is the supreme knowledge. This is the chapter's name. Raja Vidya. Raja means royal or the supreme. The king is the supreme most citizen of the country, of the kingdom. Like that, this is the supreme most royal knowledge. And not just that, Raja Guhyam, also secret of all secrets it is. Highest secret. That is this yoga, and every chapter has been called as yoga. Yoga means that which will help you unite your mind with God. So this chapter also, while we go through it, we read through it, we understand it, our mind gets further united with God. It gets closer to God as we understand this chapter. But the way it has been named, it creates curiosity. What is that secret? If you want to go and disturb somebody, you tell them, I know some secret, but I am not going to tell you. And then this person is going to go mad. He'll go and come after you and ask, what is the secret, and things like that. But at the same time, this is an open secret. See the joke of it. The irony here is, though it's the most confidential knowledge, at the same time it is an open secret. Anybody can know it. Then why is it called as the supreme secret when it's an open secret? It's because it's not given to everybody to understand it. Even if I tell this secret, even if I tell it in the language that you understand, would you understand this secret? Will you be able to experience it is the question. So deservedness to learn this knowledge is the most important aspect. And we have learnt in the previous chapters, Krishna says deservedness comes from Shraddha. What is Shraddha? Shastrasya, Guruvakyasya, Satya Buddhyavadharanam. Shraddha sakatitha sadbhihi, yaya vastu palabhyate. Sri Adi Shankaracharya, the best person to explain any of the scriptures. He writes in Viveka Chudamani, Shraddha should be there in the person if he wants to learn something. And what is this Shraddha? Shastrasya, to believe in the scriptures. Guru Vakyasya, to believe in the words of the Guru. Satya Buddhya, means you should keep strong, steady mind full of faith and belief. It is true as it is. You don't find faults with it. You accept it first. Satya Buddhya. And what does it do? This Shraddha helps you to attain the highest wisdom. Vastu palabhyate. Vastu is a synonym for that supreme principle of Godhood. So that can be attained by the one who believes in the words of the Guru and believes in the words of the scriptures. In fact, the way knowledge is to be attained as per our scriptures is there is a methodology. One is Shastra Pramana. You must refer to the scriptures which are written or have been spoken by those masters who have received it in their highest communion with the divine. It is their experience that they have spoken or written. For example, Mahabharata is written by Veda Vyasa. This is his experience. Likewise, Vedas are there, Upanishads are there, and so many other Granthas are there. They are all the experiences of the rishis. So you must first go and refer. If I say something, just don't believe it. Go and refer to any scripture where it is mentioned already. So that is the first step of gathering knowledge. Shastra Pramana, testimony from the scriptures. 2. Second step is Tarkavadam. Argue it out. If it is said so, is it really true? It means experimentation in a way. You experiment it. You try to analyze it. You try to, as they say, you discuss it out. You thrash it out, as they say. And discuss, argue, debate, whatever the methodology you use, analyze, and finally come to the conclusion that yes, what is being said, it is true. But still you have not finished learning it. Why? Because this is just a theoretical knowledge. You have only learnt that what is written in the scriptures might be true. With all possible logic and rational, yes, it seems like it is true. But the third step is the most important step, and that is Swanubhava. You should experience it for yourself. I'll give an example. In the book, all students of science or any class can do this experiment. In the book of science is written, fire burns, right? Now how do you have a self-experience of this? Take your neighbor's finger and put it in the fire. And if he shouts, you know it burns. No, put your finger. No, jokes apart. Anything has to be done like this. There is a theory, postulation, theory happens, then we go and experiment it, and then we deduce, we find the results, and finally we come to a conclusion based on our results. So our scriptures have been very, very bold about it. See, many other people, if they teach you, they tell, shut up and listen, don't argue. But our scriptures say, no, argue. Come on, let's argue. Bring it on. Let us have a debate. And if I can prove it to you that what I am saying is right, then you must put sincere efforts to experience the truth. That is the condition with which these debates happen. And they were very constructive, positive debates. So these three are the steps: Shastra Pramana, Tarkavadam, and then Swanubhava. So here also Krishna is saying something to Arjuna. And what kind of knowledge he is telling about? Supremely secretive knowledge. Should not be told to anybody. Secret is that should not be told to anybody. It should be between two people. So this is a secretive knowledge, and Krishna is going to tell it to Arjuna. So far he has told so many things to him, starting with the advice to a confused Arjuna that he must fight the battle, taught him about the Atman which never dies, never perishes, tells him about the principles of action in this world, that one must perform action, undertake action, but also teaches him the attitude with which the action should be performed, otherwise it will become a bondage. Also further tells him who really performs these actions, the body, the mind, or the consciousness within, and teaches him about the supreme consciousness, Brahman, which resides, which permeates, which pervades everything, and that is what is our true nature. And further now he goes on to tell him, last chapter was quite a scary chapter, isn't it? There he was telling him, what was he telling? How should one be prepared to die? We are all ready to live for 100 years, 1,000 years, as long as food, water, shelter is all taken care of. But last chapter was all about how one should die correctly. And today happens to be mrutyunjaya mantra homa. And I was talking to these students who attended in the Veda Pathshala, and I was telling him, see, mrutyunjaya mantra is not about praying to Lord Shiva, that please give me an extension, another extension. Nobody wants to die. It is not for that. Of course, it does pray to Lord Shiva. But what is that prayer? It says, Trayambakam yajamahe sugandhim pushtivardhanam urvarukamiva bandhanat mrutyor mukshiya ma amrutat. Redeem me from this bondage of death, he says. So people interpret it as remove death from my destiny. Give me a long life, healthy life. But they forget the second part. Ma amrutat. Don't let me get redeemed or detached from the idea of immortality. Redeem me from this mortal existence and help me to experience immortality. This is the essence of that mantra. Bodies come and go, that we have read in Bhagavad Gita so far. We all know that. But we as the eternal consciousness, Brahma, Aksharam, last time we learned Kim Tat Brahma, Kim Aksharam, all that he asks, and Krishna replies. We are that which is indestructible, imperishable. Bodies and minds are just an outer cover. The inner content is indestructible, imperishable, and it is the same in all of us, in male, female, man, woman, dog, elephant, even in the inanimate objects. The same consciousness exists, it is what is said. And we also deduce this further, saying if you break an atom further, what will you find? Lot of space in it. After you see electrons, protons, neutrons, and all the subatomic particles, then what is actually left there? It's a lot of space. But is that an empty space, is the question we asked. No, it is not. It is full of a force. What we call a unified force field theory at this point in time. It is still being explored. The string theory, still being explored. But there are four kinds of forces, we all know that. Nuclear forces are weak, strong. Electromagnetic forces are there, and gravitational forces. So this is what fills all the space within us, without us. That is why no two atoms collide into each other just like that. No two molecules clash into each other. Or no two compounds or whatever the object that we see, they just collapse. It doesn't happen because these forces keep us all in the shape that we are presently donning. So these forces are the ones which run the whole thing. So it's not wrong to say this particular force should have some origin, right? From where it has originated. Yes, this is an energy which cannot be destroyed, it is very simply said, energy cannot be created nor be destroyed. But it can change from one form to the other. We all know the basic principles of science. And energy can become matter, and matter can be turned back into energy. This is also basic principles of science. Same thing is spiritual principle also. This force is a conscious force, they say. It knows, it has some kind of an intelligence which is inherent, latent in it. Otherwise, how will one atom look different from another? How will these many properties of different types of things will happen? And how does all this variety happen in the universe? This is a conscious force. See, this part is being still researched. It's called the hard problem of consciousness. And a lot of very advanced research institutes are working on this dimension of science, which is at the edge of science and spirituality, is the cusp of that. A lot of people are slowly getting to understand, no, there is some conscious force which is keeping the universe together, doesn't allow things to collapse. And that they are studying still. But someday they will come to the same conclusion which our rishis have found out through their intuition. They did not really do an experiment, but they found out through their intuition, and then they further explained it, experimented, and experienced it. So this is how Bhagavad Gita is also about. It is an Upanishad. Upanishadsu, brahmavidyāyam, every chapter says that. Upanishadi nama brahmavidyāyam is Shankaracharya's definition. All Upanishads are nothing but knowledge of the highest supreme principle of Brahman. And in our culture, Brahman is simply called as prajñāna. That consciousness is Brahman, that which helps us to experience everything else, that ability to experience is Brahman. That consciousness. So we have a conscience, and consciousness. What is conscious? This body, physical. Annamaya kosha, pranamaya kosha, conscious. Then we have conscience, manomaya kosha, vijnanamaya kosha. This is conscience, where we feel the prick of the conscience, as they say, within. You do something wrong, nobody knows it, but you know it, and then it keeps troubling you within. That is conscience. And there is consciousness, the ability to feel both the conscious and the conscience within. That is consciousness. That is this force, that is the energy, that is the knowledge, you name it by, call it by any name. That is the ability in us. The ability to experience the whole world inside and outside. That ability is called consciousness, prajñānam. That is what is Brahma. Our scriptures are so scientific if you really see. They don't talk about Brahma as somebody with 4 hands, 5 hands, 10 heads. That is Saguna Sakara Brahma. That is a lower concept. The highest concept is, the supreme most concept is that Brahma is Nirguna Nirakara. He has no name form. That is what all we read previously in Jnana Yoga, or we read it in Akshara Brahma Yoga. Even before that, Sri Krishna mentions about it several times in smaller, big way. So now we have come to this chapter, having learned the previous chapter where Krishna says, see, if you die wrongly, you are going to get into trouble. And what is the trouble? That you will have to come back to this earth again and again start the whole thing from the scratch. It's like if you fail in the final exam, you have to come back and start from the day one. So that is what Krishna is saying. Only if you pass this exam, you don't have to come back. So for that sake, learn the truth and be free. This is Krishna's advice to Arjuna. Learn this truth about yourself and be free. But he also tells, whatever our thoughts are during the dying moments, they become the cause of our next incarnation. And Indian philosophy believes in incarnation, reincarnation, and the principle of action-reaction. This is our spiritual knowledge. In fact, somebody argued with Kanchi Paramacharya. He said, I don't believe in reincarnation. He said, okay, don't believe, but I'll give you a small exercise, just go and do and come back. And he told him, take a notebook and go around to all the maternity hospitals around Kanchipuram. And then come back and tell me what you observed, how many children were born, how they were born, what kind of parents they had, what kind of health issues they have. So he went around in one day, came back with some 20 cases. Had he gone to Sarla Memorial, he would have got it in one day, in one place 20. That is the pace at which they are delivering babies here. But he went nevertheless and went to all maternity hospitals and came back with his data and told Kanchi Paramacharya, this is what it is. And he said, what is it? So he said, some child was born with some health issue, born to some poorer family. One other child was born in a healthy way to a rich family. Some other was born with something lacking, let's say blind or deaf. Some other was quite healthy, but he did not have one organ. And all kinds of stories. Then Kanchi Paramacharya told, see, they are all born here for the first time, right? In the world. Why are they born so differently? They are all God's children, God's gift. Then why God has been so partial to them? That somebody is blind, somebody is deaf, somebody is healthy, somebody is rich, somebody is poor. This child has just arrived. He has done nothing. If he has done nothing, then why should the child have these different ways of being born? Then Kanchi Paramacharya explained that this is why we say that though God is impartial, in this chapter also Krishna says, Samoham, I am not partial to anybody, but whatever actions you perform, that brings results to you. And those results cause the rebirth. And in the last chapter it says, at the last moment, if you don't remember me, you are done. You will have to, whatever you remember, you will be born. Jada Bharata story also, you know. And what else Krishna says? He says, this is very, Antakale cha mameva smaran muktva kalevaram ya prayati samadbhavam yati nastyatra samshayaha. The one who remembers me in the final moments, he remembers God in the final moment, that person is redeemed. But we think, oh, it's okay, we will work do whatever we want, and towards the last moment we'll start preparing to remember God. Not possible. Back is aching, stomach is not digesting, hands are shaking, and teeth are chattering, eyes can't see, ears can't hear. At that point of time, you think you can remember God. In this healthy condition, we don't remember. In that bad condition, only person we will remember is doctor. Where is my doctor? Why is he not come? Why he has not given? What kind of medicine he is giving? We can't remember God. So remembering God at the last moment happens only if you remember God all throughout. That is what I was telling to these people. Some 10th class children had come. They were asking for some advice. I told you, take one advice. Think of the last day of your life. Okay, it's not a nice thing to tell the 10th class students, but I nevertheless told. I told, think of the last day and think that when you are done, how would you want yourself to be remembered in the world? Good boy, disciplined boy, helpful boy, compassionate boy. Yes, we want to be remembered. So they took a week and decided, and they came up with all kinds of stories, how they wanted to be remembered. I told you, they have to write it on your tombstone, that at your head of the grave, what will be the message there about you? So they wrote and came. Somebody wrote, I am a person of great compassion. Somebody wrote, I'm a good boy, I'm helpful, and things like that. Then I asked them, how many of you are working towards it? How many of you are behaving as you wish to be remembered today? They said, no, we have enough time. We will work towards it, and finally we will become good boys. I said, but what if death comes tomorrow? Who knows? How do you know that you will die after 100 years only? You may die tomorrow. So what will you do then? Then everybody is shocked. No, nobody thinks that I will die. Everybody thinks you can go on living. That's a joke. When the Yaksha asked Yudhishthira, what is the biggest amusing thing that you see in the world? He says, people live as if they're never going to die. And they die as if they never lived. They say, just now I was born, I'm dying already. I have so much to do, eat, see, enjoy. So this is the problem with death. That's why last chapter Krishna was so particular. If you die wrongly, you go through the darker routes into the lower worlds. If you go do right things, you may go to the brighter routes to the higher world. But again, you will come back to the earth in the mrutyuloka, where you have to go through the whole process again. You will not pass. Some temporary relief can be there, but you cannot get rid of it. So this is how Krishna kind of scares Arjuna. But then he tells, don't worry, it's not so difficult, it's quite easy. All you have to do it, sarvada sarvakaleshu, all the time. Whatever you are doing, remember me. Do it for my sake. This is simple. All the time if you remember God, any moment if you die, you will remembering God. So make it a practice to remember me at all the times. Tasmad yogaya ujjasva. That is yoga. With that you perform your duty. How? All the time you remember me. Tasmad sarveshu kaleshu mam anusmara yudhyacha. So we don't know what time the last moment is coming. Parikshita knew. We don't know. So we better remember God all the time, because any moment we kick the bucket, we die in a proper way, and we don't have to be born again and go through this whole thing. Imagine your wardens, teachers, again they will appear in your life. If you want to escape all of them, at least for that sake, find God. So anyway, with this much of introduction, and I'll take you, also you'll be observing Bhagavad Gita is getting more and more deep now. With simple principles like do your duty, don't be attached to the results, to now remember who you are and who I am, what is the truth. And here comes the biggest secret. And I will get into the chapter now with this introduction, and you must pay attention, because if you don't pay attention, what will happen? You may die wrongly, And if you die wrongly, then you will be born wrongly. And again you have to go through the whole process. Again I have to come back to teach you Bhagavad Gita and encourage you. Spare me the effort. Realize yourself. So here he says this Raja Vidya, Raja Yoga. Supreme royal knowledge. Vidya. We have avidya and vidya. We talked about it. Vidya means that which helps us to redeem ourselves. All other forms of knowledge are not ways to liberation or redemption. They may help us to fill our bellies, look after our families, do some good work in the society, but that doesn't redeem us. That is why Shaunaka goes to Angirasa and asks, I have learnt everything, but tell me that knowing which everything else will be known. And then he says, Dve vidye veditavye iti hasma yad brahmavidyā vadanti parachaiva paracha. The higher knowledge and the lower knowledge. The higher knowledge is that of spiritual, lower knowledge is that of all the material world. We need both, he says. But the lower knowledge only helps us to eke out a living. But higher knowledge helps us to reach the highest state of supreme divinity. So we need to learn both. Unfortunately, most of the schools, colleges don't teach the higher knowledge at all because nobody is interested. They only ask, if you get this higher knowledge, are you going to get more money? Are you going to get promotions? Are you going to get more power, position? This is the lookout for all the parents and teachers and students. So they are not interested in the higher knowledge. So here Krishna talks about such people also, who are not interested in this and therefore they suffer. But they don't realize they are suffering. Like the dog which goes on biting on the dry bone and thinks that the blood is coming from the bone and enjoys it, whereas the blood is coming from its own gums. Likewise, these people try to enjoy the world, not knowing that actually the world is enjoying them. So here the first shloka goes, Sri Bhagavan Uvacha, Idam tu te guhyatamam pravakshyami anasuyave jnanam vijnana sahitam yad gyatva mokshase ashubhat. Very beautiful verse and very powerful. He says, here I tell you about the most secret, guhyatamam. Guhyam, secret, guhyataram, more secretive. Guhyatamam means highest secret, let me tell you. So be all ears. And why am I teaching you this, Krishna says. Earlier he told, I am teaching you because you have become my shishya. I am teaching you because you are my sakha. But here Krishna tells, I am teaching you because you are anusuya. Asuya means jealousy. When we are jealous with somebody, that is called asuya normally. So anasuya should be not being jealous. Now what is Krishna got to worry about jealousy in Arjuna? Why should Arjuna be jealous of Krishna? So that's not the right meaning over here. It could be, but Adi Shankaracharya explains, Asuya means Guneshu Dosha Avishkarana, where we find faults with people where there are no faults are there, where there is no fault exists, but we simply find faults with people, that habit is called Asuya. When we don't like somebody, anything that they do, we find faults with it. That habit is Asuya, is what Adi Shankaracharya says. So Krishna is telling Arjuna, you don't find faults with me. You accept whatever I say, and you are able to understand whatever I am trying to say. Shraddha, you have Shraddha. Therefore, I am going to tell you. Because why to tell it to somebody who is not going to anyway listen and practice? It's a waste of my time, your time. So you should be anasuya. Also, you think from this point of view that Krishna and Arjuna were friends. Suddenly, Arjuna is realizing Krishna is somebody else more than friend. And what can happen, the first level, he can also feel jealous. Oh, Krishna is so much more than I thought. A sense of, inferiority complex may come to Arjuna. But it has not come. He is so humble. He accepted Krishna as his guru. And then he is able to learn from Krishna. This problem happens all the time. Then they find fault with everything. This wouldn't be the way how Swami would do. This is not the way how Baba would do or say. And they keep finding faults with everything. And that is their problem. Here Krishna is very happy because he has found a Shishya who is Anusuya. How beautiful that word is, isn't it? He says, Jnana Vijnana Sahitam Yad Gyatva Mokshyase Ashubhat. I am going to teach you Jnana Vijnana Sahitam. Jnana is the knowledge, theoretical knowledge. Vijnana is the practical process to approach that knowledge and realize that knowledge. See, I am going to tell you where you should reach and how you should reach also. And then he says, knowing which, mokshase ashubhat, all inauspicious things will come to an end. You will be freed from all things that are inauspicious. Now, what is the most inauspicious thing that has happened to us? A black cat crossed the path. No. Then he woke up and saw Warden's face, first thing. Then Warden saw your face, first thing. That they have no choice, they have to see. What is the most inauspicious thing that has happened to us? This bondage of the body is the most inauspicious thing. Because the moment this body was born, we forgot who we were. We started remembering ourselves as this man, this woman, son of so and so, father of all these kind of upadhanas, upadhis. This is what happened. That's why Mother Lassa keeps teaching her children, Shuddhosi, Buddhosi, Ranjanosi, Samsara Maya, Parivarjitosi. You are ever pure. You are the ever aware. You are the Lord Himself. You are divinity itself. Don't you become entangled in this world. You are beyond this. This is how Mother Lassa, the great mother, would teach her children, made them brahmajñānis. But how our children are learning? Generally, mothers are telling them, the moment it starts, mother says, you are my son, first tell mummy, then say papa. Otherwise, no food for you today. These are our people, those are others. Don't share your things with them. All kinds of things, all wrong thinking and wrong teaching. That's why we are where we are. And from the day we are born and we forget who we are, we cry. Every child is born crying. They're crying because they think, oh my God, I landed here again. I was just here a while ago. And again in the same world I have landed. Again I have to go through the whole process. While everybody is rejoicing, this fellow is crying. Why? Because he has realized he landed in the same trouble again. Therefore he cries. The baby cries. So this fellow has gone into an auspicious state, which is he has forgotten his divinity, or sooner or later he'll forget and remember that he's just the body. And from the moment we think we are the body, all the problems start. Avidya, kama, karma. Avidya, that I am the body, that wrong knowledge. Kama, desires start to take care of the body, to please the body, to provide for the body and fulfill all the desires. And then karma, all the actions begin from there, and karma brings the results, karma prabhava, then punarjanma, the cycle continues. So he says, knowing this whole root cause of the whole problem, that you forget who you are, will be gone, and therefore all inauspicious things from your life will be gone. God is called Shivam, auspicious. This is what it is. So second sloka, he says, Raja Vidya Rajaguhyam Pavitram Muttamam Pratyakshaavagamam Dharmyam Susukham Kartum Avyayam. See, also such a good teacher. He doesn't say, because it is such a secret, it's going to be very tough on you. Better be very hardworking, and it's not for everybody. Some teachers scare the students like this. But here Krishna says, this supreme secret is very easy. Supreme secret is very easy. And how it is? It is the purest, pavitram, idam, uttamam. It is the best of all knowledge. Know this. If you don't know anything else, it's okay as long as you know this, because the highest and the purest knowledge. He says, Pratyakshaavagamam. This also is realizable. Hastamalaka is there, Shankaracharya. He gave him the name because as if a berry is kept on your palm, it is as realizable as that. So it is realizable knowledge. It is not a theoretical knowledge which you cannot realize. We talk about so many mathematical theories. I see mathematicians, half the time they are lost in their abstract world of mathematics. And no doubt all the students in topology fail. Most abstract subject. They have to keep on imagining. So, but you can't experience that knowledge. It is not practical. In the sense, it is not applicable knowledge. It's not application-oriented mathematics. Most of it. It's an abstract knowledge, but it has its own use, through which we use many other ways we use it. But it's not like as practical as drinking water or eating food. So, but this knowledge is extremely practical, extremely realizable, Krishna is saying. See how he's encouraging. It's doable, don't worry, you can do it. And then, dharmyam, it is the righteous knowledge. It is the one which puts you on the right path. Because if you have wrong knowledge, you can end up on the wrong path. Suppose somebody tells you, take the right turn. After you reach the Chikbalapur main road, they say, take the right turn to go to Hyderabad. They tell you what will happen. Wrong knowledge will take you to Bangalore instead of Hyderabad. So he says, this is the knowledge which is the right knowledge, which puts you on the right path. Which is our path? Dharma, artha, kama, moksha. So on the moksha road it puts you. It doesn't put you on the bandha road, bondage road. And susukham, very easy. Very easy it is. Kartum avyayam. And what kind of knowledge it is? Once you realize it, it never diminishes. It means, you know how maths and science and all subjects are. If you read on Monday, by Tuesday morning, you reach the Brahma Nirvana stage. Everything is zero in your mind. Everything has to be revised, otherwise you don't remember. Right? You have to go on revising knowledge in order to remember the knowledge. This knowledge is something, once you get it, you will never forget it, he says. It will never go away from you. Should we not invest in such a knowledge which will stay with us forever? All that you read in first, second, third class, do you remember all of it now? Forget it. All that you read yesterday, day before, do you remember? No. What did you eat day before? You remember? Even that we forget. But this knowledge, once we attain it, it is never lost to us. This brahmavidyā. Therefore, it is one of the most beautiful things to do, best thing to do. And Krishna is encouraging Arjuna, right? Because you have to encourage children. Otherwise, children will say, this is not doable, this is not for me. And they will give up even before they start. So Arjuna, don't worry, it is very easy. And best part is, once you know it, you don't forget it. You will always remember it. It will never be lost to you. How beautiful. Then he says, but the problem is, ashraddha dānaha purusha dharmasyasya parantapa aprapya mam nivartante mrityu samsara vartamani. But those who don't have shraddha in this, those who don't believe me, I told just those who have asuya, they think this is not true. They don't attain this knowledge. So first quality, as I said, go back, shraddha. When 6 disciples come to Pippalada, they ask him, teach something. He doesn't teach them immediately. He checks their sincerity, checks their interest. He says, brahmacharya, tapas, shraddha. Practice this for 1 year and then you come back to me, then I will see if I know the answers to what you ask, I will tell you, otherwise that's it, go your way. But he doesn't teach them immediately. He tells them to wait for 1 year. And what should they practice? Brahmacharya means absolute control on their mind and senses. Up to tapas, intense austerities and penance, so that keep the mind steady, undistracted. And shraddha, practice faith in what I am saying. Develop that intensity and interest. Faith in. So he says, ashraddha dana purusha dharmasyasya parantapa aprapya. They don't attain this. Then what? They don't attain me, he says, because at this point Krishna is referring to himself as the Supreme Lord who has no form, no name. He represents the supreme principle of Godhood. He is not the physical Krishna. So remember that, don't get confused there. Nivartante mrityu samsara. Though they come back again and again to this cycle of birth and death. What kind of people? Those who don't believe in this, those who don't have interest in it, those who don't want to put efforts therefore. Why they don't put efforts? You remember earlier also Krishna says, Kaschit, he says, Manushyanam sahasreshu kaschit yatate siddhaya. Somebody only puts efforts on spiritual path. Most of the people are very busy, kana, pina, sona, mana, enjoying life. YOLO. They are not interested in all this vidya. Ashraddha, they have ashraddha. They don't have any interest in this. Why, Because it is a subtle knowledge. See, if you see something with your eyes, you can get interested in it. If you hear something with your ears, you can get interested in it. If you touch, taste, smell something, you can get interested in it because you are able to relate to it. You are able to experience it instantly. Whereas this knowledge is not graspable by your senses. And unfortunately, we are only used to using our senses in this world to experience everything. If senses cannot comprehend it, we think it doesn't exist. It's almost like saying somebody who never crossed India, never went to the US. He says, if somebody tells him that USA exists, this purpose is where I can't see the USA, so it does not exist for. That's not the logic you apply, right? Somebody will tell, no, I am from the US, I have been there, and I am telling you that it exists because I've seen it. Like that, rishis are telling, no, divinity exists, though it is not seen by these eyes, heard by the ears, or can be spoken about, or can be touched or tasted. It does exist beyond your senses. Yato vacho nivartante aprapya manasa saha. That which is beyond the words, where the words don't go, they return from there. It means it cannot be described. Aprapya manasa saha. Even the mind with all its power, intelligence, discrimination cannot understand it. That is the nature, that is the very definition of divinity. So what is the point in applying all these tools like your senses and the mind, because that is beyond the grasp of these. So how do we know divinity is the next question. Because these people, so first step is develop Shraddha. Krishna is saying, even before you start on this journey, believe that it exists. But I can't see, I can't taste, hear, smell, touch. Doesn't matter. Believe in me first. Shastrasya Guru Vakyasya Satya Buddhya Vadharanam. First believe that it exists. Let us start with the theory. Okay, theory 1, let us assume it exists. Now we will start the experimentation. That is the process. So he is telling believe, and that is what Yama tells Nachiketa, asti iti uplabdhavyasya tattva bhava prasidati. The one who believes that it exists, to him it reveals itself. Why? Because it becomes happy with such a person. So why did God create this whole world? So that somebody will know that he exists. And he can love some people and people can love him back. That was the only reason why the world came into existence. That is what Aitreya Upanishad says. Brahman was alone, didn't know what to do. He thought, nobody knows that I exist. So let me create so that I get. Most of the scriptures say this. The Lord created the world so that he could love the world and the world could love him back. His people, his children could love him back. Other than that, there was no purpose. Can you imagine how many things we are doing other than this? Other than this, we are already doing everything else. This is the problem. Why? Because he cannot be grasped by the senses. That's why the Rishi from Kenopanishad says, very, very humbly he puts it. Na vidmo na vijanimo yathaitad anushishyat. I do not know how to explain to you this. Because na tatra chakshush gacchati, na vak, no manaha, mind cannot go, words cannot go, ears cannot go, means all senses cannot go there. So how do I explain to you? It is an experience, it is not an explanation. It is an experience that you must have it for yourself. And that experience comes to the person who develops first Shraddha. Again, Krishna is saying about Shraddha. And where do you develop Shraddha? When you stay in the company of good people, who are devoted people, you will develop Shraddha. You be in the company of wrong people, atheists, you will never develop that Shraddha or interest in God. Be in the company of noble people, devotees and good people. That's why I always say satsangatve nissangatvam. Nirsangatve nirmohatvam, nirmohatve nischal tattve jivan mukti. If you want to attain God and freedom from this world, start with satsanga. Be in the company of good people. And nobody, good company won't come searching for you. You have to go searching for it. Why? Uddhared atman atmanam. I want to redeem myself. You should be interested in yourself. Somebody wrote to me, my husband is not giving up some of the bad habits. I am very worried. And please advise him. So I advised. And my advice also fell on deaf ears. Then he is still continuing with his habits. So she is worried. Then I told him, see Amma, if he is not interested in his own redemption, how can anybody help? If the patient doesn't want to get well, what can doctor do? You cannot do anything about such a person. You have to be interested in your redemption. Why you should be interested? Krishna is going to tell. Anyway, after that Krishna says, who is this supreme that you have to realize? And very beautiful shloka, this is that tricky shloka, which I am sure Veda Vyasa used to trick Ganesha for some time and went for a, milk break or something like that in those days. Maya tatamidam sarvam jagat yaktam murtina matsthani sarva bhutani nachaham teshu avastitaha. He says, everything is permeated by me. In every aspect of this whole creation that you see with your senses, I alone exist, he says. You can simply apply the same logic, consciousness or whatever, the force exists in everything. But it is avyaktina, avyaktamurti, it is not manifest. In all things that are manifest, there is an unmanifest me which exists. Ishavasimidam sarvam yat kinchat jagatyam jagata. Isha Upanishad starts with that. The Lord permeates the entire universe. Everything, moving, unmoving, immovable, movable, whatever we call. Everything is permeated by the Lord. That is the first. Now you have to remember that. Number one, I permeate and pervade everything in an unmanifest form. First. Second thing he says is, Matsthani sarva bhutani. In me only everything else exists. Not only I permeate everything exists in me. Two. Third one, na chaham teshu avastita, but I don't exist in them. See, tricky shloka, so pay attention. I permeate everything first in an unmanifest form. Two, everything exists in me. Quite logical. Three, I don't exist in them. Three. Next shloka is even more complicated. And next he says, Nacha matsthani bhutani. And things don't exist in me. You will see, previous shloka you said everything exists in you. Now you are saying nothing exists in you. So 4 things he said. What he said? First, I permeate everything. 2, everything exists in me. 3, I do not exist in other things. 4th, nothing exists in me. See, and finally says, Bhutani, Pashyame Yoga Maishno. This is my Maya. This is the power of my creation, creative Maya. He is telling Arjuna. You can imagine Arjuna's plight. First of all, in the middle of the battlefield, he doesn't know what to do. He's getting discourses after discourse, and now look at the complicated discourse. So this is a tricky. And then next line is Bhuta Brun cha bhutasto mamatma bhuta bhavanaha. So he says Bhuta Bhrut cha bhutastaha. So Bhuta Bhrut means I am the source or I am the sustainer of everything. I am the substratum. I am the foundation on which everything rests. Yes, and I am the source, beginning of everything. From me only everything has emerged. These are the definitions he has told about himself. Says Maya tatavidam sarvam. I permeate and pervade everything. Correct. 2, everything exists in me. Matsthani sarvabhutani. 3, na chaham teshu avastita. I don't exist in them. 4th, na cha matsthani bhutani. Things don't exist in me. So the best example, this is a Vedantic thought, Advaitic thought. It is not Dvaita. See, Krishna is clearly telling it's Advaita here. Advaita means there are no two, only one. So what he says, in Vedanta, the example of snake and the rope, Rajya Sarpaha, that we all know. When you go in the night, on the road, suddenly in the dark twilight, you see a rope and you take it for a snake and you get scared. Has it happened to people? So when you are going and you see a rope and you take it for a snake, what is your reaction? You get scared. Now first question, what is real there? Rope is real. Snake is unreal. It's your imagination. So first definition, what he says, I permeate everything. So the snake is because of the rope. So rope permeates the entire snake. Can the snake be longer or shorter than the rope? No. Every aspect of the snake is permeated by the rope. So first logic we got it. Second logic, Matsthani sarva bhutani, all things exist in me. Does the snake exist in rope? It appears to be so, because if the rope was not there, where was the question of you seeing a snake? So snake exists exactly like the rope. The way it is twisted or turned, that is the way it exists. So do things exist in me? Yes. Why the snake exists in rope? The second logic. 3, I don't exist in them. The snake that you see and you don't see the rope. So does the rope exist in snake? How can it exist? Snake itself is not real. But if you see the snake, the rope is not there in the snake. That is the third logic. I don't exist in them. Rope does not exist in the snake, naturally. And fourth, he says, snake also does not exist in me. Is that correct or not? Because there is no snake in the first place, how will it exist? This is my yoga maya, Krishna is telling. Enjoy this, he says. Pashya, look at the glory of my maya, the way I have created this world. I permeate everything like the rope. Snake is the maya, that the world exists. And then that though it appears that it exists on me, it actually does not exist. Though you may say, I exist in the world, that also is not true, because the world itself is not there. That is why Shankaracharya says, Brahma Satyam Jagan Mithya. This is the definition you should take. The Brahman, the foundational, the basis, consciousness is the truth. Because it is independent in its existence. It does not need anything else to exist. That's the idea of Satyam. What is Mithya? That which needs something else to exist. Like the snake needs the rope to appear as if it exists. But the rope does not need the snake for it to exist. So that is the idea of Brahman. The Lord is like the rope, who always existed, is existing and will continue to exist. Snake is the Maya, the world, which appears to exist. In a dream, when you are dreaming, a new world you see. You see new creatures, you see a new place, you see new things. So where does these things exist? In your dream, you met a person. Where does that person exist? He exists in you only, because you are dreaming. You may see yourself also with the person in the dream. So you also exist in the dream, you will think. But the truth is what? None of the persons in the dream really exist. Who exists? You alone who is dreaming. Think of the Lord as the dreamer and think of the world as a dream. And you sit and analyze it for yourself. That is why Shankaracharya says, Vishwam tyaktva swapna vicharam. Think of the whole world as a dream and give up this idea of attaching, detaching from things, running behind things or running away from things. Just give up this idea, because in a dream, what do you attain and what do you lose? One king ordered, I want a flying palace. Everybody said, where did you get this idea? No, I dreamt that I was going in a flying palace. So it must be true. I want a flying palace. Somehow he called all the engineers like I do. I want this building yesterday like that. So he told, I want the flying palace, get it done. So all these engineers in his court started thinking, what do it? He said, by tomorrow give me a solution, otherwise I'm going to chop all their heads. So these people got scared. They went to a very wise man. They said, please save us from this. So the wise man was a courtman, he was a minister. He said, I will take care, don't worry, you just come to the palace tomorrow. So next morning this minister came with all tatters, torn clothes and things like that. And he told the king, come down from the simhasana, the chair. I am going to sit there. He said, king said, what's wrong with you? Why will you sit on my chair? What has happened to you? He said, I had a dream that you came and took away my kingdom and made me a beggar. So according to the dream, I am the king, you are not the king, because you took away my kingdom. The king said, what are you talking? In a dream, anybody can be king, anybody can be beggar. That is not real. You can't believe that. He said, the same way in a dream, palaces can fly. In reality, they won't. So don't trouble them. So where was the palace? In the dream. It doesn't exist. But the king became so attached. So he wanted the palace to be built which can fly. So idea is that, think of the whole world as the dream of God. In the dream, so many things happen. But none of this is true. That is what Shankaracharya is trying to say. This is mithya. The truth is only consciousness. We have been born, we die. One thing that remains with us is our consciousness. Now, all those who have not understood, when you are going back, if you see a rope and think that it's a snake and try to catch it, and if it turns out to be a real snake, God save you. But problem with us is we have found out that it's a rope, but still we are searching for the snake. No, snake was here, where it went? Which species was that? I am saying there is no snake over there. No, but I saw the snake 10 minutes ago. I saw that was rope only which you saw a snake. No, I saw a snake, I am sure. I have to search for it. Where it went, I do not know, which hostel. So idea is that we are searching for things in this world which does not exist according to Vedanta, Advaita, and exactly that is what Sri Krishna is saying. Because of me, it appears that everything exists. But truth is, I alone exist. Everything else is just a projection on me. Because of me, everything appears to exist. Because of the rope, only snake appears to exist. But truth is that only the rope exists, no snake exists there. Same way, Lord alone exists, the world does not exist, is our Vedanti philosophy. Then you will ask, it means all of us are a part of a dream? No, we don't exist really? What is the truth? I have to really be shocking you by saying that is what Vedanta says. That we are just imaginations. We are just illusions. We are in a dream. But then you will say, how do we get out of this dream? I don't want to be in this dream. Then attain the wisdom. Like the child who dreams and gets scared of some dream lion. Then mother sees the child sweating, throwing hands and legs. So mother comes and does what? She understands the child is dreaming. So mother wakes him up and he wakes up and says, lion, where is that lion? Mother says, there is no lion, that was a dream. Oh, thank God. It was a dream, it was not a real lion. Same thing. Oh, this world, so many things, nice things, bad things, ugly things, good things, happy things, sad things. So many things are happening. We are all getting jittery. Sometimes excited, sometimes depressed, sometimes happy, sometimes sad, like the child dreaming. Then a guru comes who is awake. He shakes us and says, wake up, you are dreaming. The reality is you are divine. This world is just a dream. That is something that Krishna is telling in these two shlokas so powerfully. As just this is the supreme secret knowledge. Then you'll say, now we all know this knowledge. No, you don't know it because you have not experienced it. You are still in the dream. The day you can confirmly say that I am divine and you experience that divinity within, without, that is the day you have attained this supremely secret knowledge. Till that day it has not happened. Till that day it has not happened. So develop this kind of yasya deve para bhakti yatha deve tatha gurau tasyaite katitya hi artha prakashante mahatmana shvetashvatara Upanishad. The one who has true devotion to the divine as he has for the guru, such a person alone attains this kind of knowledge. It shines in that person's inner self. Prakashante, it illumines itself within. It doesn't see it outside. Right? So that is one thing. Don't compare it with the Prahalada story of he telling his father Narayana exists in the pillar and the pillar is broken and Narsimha comes out. No, that is a Purana. But this idea of Advaita is about the supreme consciousness which is Nirguna Nirakara. I do not know how many of people have understood, at least theoretically. If you have not, please go and, as I said, do the snake and rope experiment. I am sure as high school children are getting ideas. Now I can scare people with the snake, the rope snake, But that is the truth. We want it, we don't want it, we like it, we don't like it. Nobody cares because that is the truth. The truth has to be told as it is. And what he says in the next shloka, how Krishna gives a simple example. He says, Yatha kasha sthito nityam vayu sarvatra gava mahan tatha sarvani bhutani matstani tyupadharaya. Like in the space exists the wind. Storms come, gentle breeze comes, everything exists within the space. But space is not affected by all the movements of the breeze or the wind or a storm or a typhoon or a hurricane or anything. Space is space. When it rains, it doesn't become wet. When it is hot, it doesn't become hot. In the sense, it doesn't acquire, if there is a fire, forest fire, the space is not being burnt. Likewise, space remains unaffected. Like that, I exist in everywhere, everything, all is dependent on me, but I am untouched by any of these. However, I am the foundation on which you see everything. Like we see cinema on a screen. If screen is not there, where is cinema? So the world is projected on God. We are able to see the screen and the pictures. We are not able to see the God who is hiding. In the sense, the screen behind we are not able to see. We are only seeing the pictures. Only if you switch off the pictures, then you will see there is a screen behind it. Otherwise, we don't realize that. So that is the idea. He goes on to say, Sarva bhutani kaunteya prakritim yanti mamikam kalpakshaya punastani kalpado visrujamiham. Like a person who sleeps, dreams, sees a new world, or when he wakes up, he sees another world. Every time we sleep, we forget this world, isn't it? Do we remember any of this world? In deep sleep, you don't even remember in which place you are, what is the time, who are you, what is your name, you are a boy, girl, nothing you remember. But only when you wake up, again everything appears back to you. Oh, I am this boy in this class, or I am this girl in this class. These are my teachers, these are my parents, these are my subjects, this is my campus. Everything as if suddenly appears back to us. And everything as if suddenly disappears in our deep sleep. So Lord is saying that is how this creation comes into existence and disappears. Kalpa, 100 years of Brahma. Remember last time we talked about it. So every time Brahma goes to sleep, the world disappears. He wakes up, the world appears. That is the idea. As if when we go to sleep, the world disappears for us. And when we come awake, all the world appears back. You may say, no, the world was always there. I only went to sleep, so I didn't realize. You never know. You never know. Janaka's story, when he went to sleep and had a dream. And in dream he saw he has lost his kingdom and is begging for food. And then he wakes up with great trepidation, and wife says, what happened? You had a bad dream? He said, no, we lost our kingdom and enemies attacked us and I was begging for food. She says, no, you are on this bed, you are still the king and this was just a dream. But he is lost. He said, the dream was so real, I couldn't believe that it is not me. So next day onward he starts inquiring, which was real? That Janaka in the dream was real, or this Janaka as a king is real? And Ashtavakra teaches him the Ashtavakra Gita. So that neither that dream was real nor this is real. You alone are real who existed in both the places. Likewise, the consciousness is real, all the other things are unreal. That is the thing. It is quite a philosophy. Takes some effort and some contemplation to understand even the theory of it. Then he says, Prakritim swam vashtabhya visujami punah punah putagrama mimam kritsnam avasham prakriter vashat. It's my power only, with my prakriti power, all things come into existence as if helplessly, without any control. By my maya, by my nature, I bring forth things, I take it back again. It is my power. So why Krishna is explaining all this to Arjuna? He is developing bhakti in Arjuna. See, when do we develop bhakti or love for something or someone? When we know its value. So many students joined us. They knew nothing about the institution, nothing about me. But as they started learning, they developed love for me, love for the institutions. You develop love for anybody when you know the virtues of the person, the glories of the person. So Krishna is glorifying the idea of Brahman so that Arjuna develops interest. Arjuna develops love for that idea of Brahman and strives to realize it. See, that is why Krishna in so many ways he telling about this idea of Brahman. Such a good teacher, all the time interested in the welfare of the student, not ordinary welfare that he wins the war and he goes home. No, highest welfare. He uses war as an excuse to teach him the highest philosophy. What a wonderful teacher. Then he says, you may think Krishna is only creating the world, he is only dissolving the world, or whatever Supreme Brahman, then he should have action and reaction too. Natural, just now I told the whole world is about action reaction. If Krishna creates and Krishna dissolves, he is to experience the action reaction. So he says, Nacha mam tani karmani nimagnanti jananjaya udasinavat asinam asaktam teshu karmasu. I sit here watching everything like a witness, unattached. I am unattached to whatever is happening around me. That's why I was told, if I start taking punya papa of all the institutions that are being built, this hospital is being built, if some people get cured, if I think that punya should come to me, and if somebody dies there, the papa will also come to me. That way I will have to take how many births, I do not know. There is no end. So many hospitals, so many patients, so many people dying and being born. Then I cannot work like this. So I am like this. I sit unattached. Things happen for the sake of happening. People have to do their duty. They will continue. I am here sitting as a witness to everything. Krishna says as Brahman, as super consciousness, he is just a witness. He is unattached, as if sitting unaffected by anything. Remember space example, it doesn't get wet when it rains. It doesn't get burnt when there is a fire. Likewise, it remains unattached. Everything happens within. that space, but space remains unaffected. Likewise, Brahman remains unaffected. Maya dhakshena prakritihi suyate sacharacharam hetunanena kaunteya jagat viparitvartate. Because of my power only, I am the Lord. I am the one who is the reason why everything happens in this world. In the sense, the sun rises, the moon rises, planets go round, and everything happens because of my power. Now you will say that is because of gravitational power. I said that's exactly what I am, he's saying. That's because of some other story. That's because of electrical power, mechanical power. Yes, I am that power, is Krishna saying. But you are this man with 4 hands and whatever we describe. No, I am not. That is the snake in the rope that you are seeing. I am the rope. And the rope is this power which governs the universe. So clearly he says. See, if today's scientists who do all this space research and study galaxies, they should read Bhagavad Gita, because there is some clue over here. That is what it says. And our scriptures say, Bishasmat dvata bhavate vishodeti surya. Out of his fear, not really fear, out of respect for him, for his presence, everybody minds their business. All the things in the nature happen. But this is a very important shloka. Avajananti mam mudha manushim tanumashritah pashritam param bhavam ajananto mama bhuta maheshwaram. But those people who are attached to their bodies and this lower idea of sense pleasures, sense enjoyments, they ignore me, he says. Avajananti is not najananti, avajananti. They ignore me. They don't want to learn about me. They mock me. They even laugh at this idea of spirituality because of their foolishness. Such people never get to know me, that I am the Supreme Lord. So tanumashritam, they are dependent on their body. That is one interpretation. The other is, they think I am a body. Just because I came in a body, they think of me also like one of them. But I am not just one of them. God's descent is for man's ascent, they say. So I come here in a body to teach you something and tell you about this truth. Don't take me so lightly, is what Krishna is telling. But who cannot understand it? Those who are too attached, too body conscious. All the time about senses, sense pleasures, all about their mind and engaging with the mind and intellect, they cannot understand me. So what happens to their lives? Moghasha, mogha karmano, mogha jnana vichetasaha, rakshasi masurim chaiva prakriti mohini shrita. Such people's all efforts are a waste. Mogha asha, all their desires are a waste. Because what are they desiring for? The snake which does not exist. Then mogha karmano, they are working for what? Catching that snake which does not exist. Then moga jnana, their knowledge that the snake existed is also a waste. So if he is a biologist or something and he sits down to research on that snake which never exists, all his time, energy, everything is a waste, isn't it? Something like this the worldly people are. They run behind worldly objects as if they are real, but this is just illusion, mirages. They chase mirages, at the end they are disappointed. Vichetasaha, those who have distracted minds. And Rakshasi, Asurim Chaiva, what kind of nature they have? Rakshasi. Rakshasi means they are very selfish people. Rakshasas are selfish. They don't mind troubling others for their sake. So in pursuit of their self-interests, they can trouble anybody. Such people don't understand me. Then who else? Asurim. Asuris, people are those who revel in sense pleasures. They can't think beyond their body. Khana, pina, as I say, enjoy sense pleasures. Such people can never come to me. That's why all these austerities, yama, niyama, all that is required, even to begin on this path. They are deluded, mohinim shrita. They're deluded because of their body consciousness, too much of desires of the pleasures. They can never even imagine that something more than that exists. They're so clouded in their thinking. He is telling about them. And every effort of theirs is a waste. Every thought is a waste. That's why I tell, the day when you have lived, that moment when you have thought of God is the only moment which has been well spent. All other time that you have spent is a waste on this earth. Now you think for yourself, what about my studies now? It's a waste. How do I go about it? For that also Krishna has answers. But it'll come next. He says the good people, on the other hand, Mahatma anastu maam partha daivim prakriti mashrita. They depend on the good qualities, pure qualities, sattva bhava, remember? They revel in that, good qualities. So what happens? They remember me all the time. Bhajantya anatnya manaso gyatva bhutadi vavyayam. I am the first and the foremost. Remembering me all the time, they go about doing their things, and such people come to know of me eventually. Satatam kirtayanto mam yatatascha dridhavrataha namastasyancha mam bhaktya nitya yukta upasate. What do? Satatam kirtanam. They always sing my glory. What is glory? When you follow what I say, that is what is glorifying me, not singing my praises in words, but by actions if you show. So whatever Krishna says, if you do, you are glorifying, kirtayantaha. Then yatantashta, they are always putting effort. Some children say, Swami, I tried everything, I tried to be good boy, but I failed today. They write to me in letters. I tell them, no worries, start again. Don't give up, because no effort is lost, we know that. Start again. Yatantascha, they're always putting the effort. Uttishtata, Jagrata, they don't give up just because they failed once or twice. Then Dridhavrata, they're very determined. It's not that Monday they felt we should realize God and Tuesday they've forgotten about it. Continuously they remember I must realize God. Then Namastasyanchascha, they worship me. They Namaha means no ego. They're egoless people. They surrender to me. They don't have an ego of their own. Then Nitya Yukta Upasate. Constantly they're engaged in my worship. Worship means remembrance. What is the remembrance? In everything they try to see me. Pratibodha viditam matam amrutatvam hi vindate. In everything they see God's hand. I only exist, nothing else exists. The king cuts his finger while cutting the apple for his grandson. And then the king says, my finger is cut. The minister says, good for you. It's God's wish. King gets angry, he puts the minister in the jail. And next day he goes for an expedition in the forest. He is captured by the tribals who want to sacrifice him to their god. And the king is very scared. That time they check him, whether he is a perfect offering or is imperfect. They find there is a cut in his finger. They say he's an imperfect offering. We can't give it to our God. We want a perfect fellow without any cuts. Now don't start cutting fingers. Idea is that he was an imperfect offering, so he was sent back. So he reaches the palace huffing, puffing, and he goes to his minister, releases him from the jail and asks him, I understood what you said. It was good for me because of my cut in the finger, the tribals left me, and otherwise I would have been sacrificed today. He says, but how is it good for you that I put you in the jail? The minister says, if I was not in the jail, I would have come with you because I didn't cut my finger, they would have sacrificed me instead of you. So it's good for both. So a devotee looks at every situation like this. In everything he sees, this is for our good. Many times I've seen people fall from the bike, they write a message, Swami, thank you for saving me. Just a little hurt in my elbow. Thank you, my head did not split into two, it was your grace. So they see good in everything, whereas non-devotees keep cursing everybody around them. Find faults with God. What kind of creation is this? You have made our lives miserable. So much of poverty, so much of deprivation. Why this problem to me only? Why others are happy? Why I only have to suffer? They go on whining like this. This is not the real devotee. Real devotee sees good in everything. What kind of devotees are there? Many kinds are there. But the important part that you have to remember from the first half is that Lord alone is everything. Lord means not some man or a woman. Consciousness. Is consciousness a man? No. Consciousness is a woman? No. Consciousness is neither of them, that is also no. Because it is everything. Is a mirror, if a mirror is there, if a woman stands in front of the mirror, does the mirror become feminine? No. Does it become ugly if an ugly person stands in front of it? Does it become beautiful? If a beautiful, no, like that this consciousness is. Pure reflection. It has no attributes of its own. It just reflects our thoughts. So this is the way of consciousness, very important chapter, and it comes somewhere in the middle of Bhagavad Gita. It's like the mid-section of Bhagavad Gita. And where do we hide our things? In the middle of things, in between two things, we hide our secrets. So likewise, this Bhagavad Gita, this chapter is somewhere in the middle of the whole Bhagavad Gita, and therefore these shlokas 13, 14, 15 are all in the center of the whole Bhagavad Gita. They are the 350, 351 shlokas out of 700 shlokas. This is where Bhagavad Gita's crux is. What? That Lord is pervading everything. Lord is in all. Everybody is in Lord. Yet Lord is detached from all. Because everything else is just reflection, reaction. So it doesn't truly exist. The one who realizes the truth becomes free. Such a person doesn't have to come back again and again to the same class, go through the cycles of birth and death. This is the reason why he is encouraging Arjuna to learn this truth. But nevertheless, today what you have learned, please go and contemplate. Right? The rope snake. You got the point. Experiment and see. But don't you think the snake for a rope, because I told all snakes are basically ropes. Don't conclude wrongly and go and catch snakes. There are plenty of them in our ashram, by the way. And rainy season, they will be definitely coming out. Don't simply take it for granted. This is just a rope, we learnt in Bhagavad Gita. For all you know, it might be real snake. So wrongly it should not interpret it. That's another, that shloka is also coming. How these people wrongly interpret everything that I say. So with this, today's we'll conclude and we will see either tomorrow or day after.